Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Viburnum Davidii. This is Viburnum Davidii, or otherwise known as David viburnum. This is a low-growing, compact shrub that can be kept somewhere between 2 to 3 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width, ultimately. It's evergreen, but it's in its northern edges can sometimes be kind of semi-evergreen. It's got this beautiful foliage that has these deep veins in it that wither without flowering. It's just one of the absolute highlights of this plant in the landscape. So again, this is an extremely compact growing shrub. It can reach ultimately 3 to 5 feet by 3 to 5 feet, something like that. Again, very maintainable in this 2 to 3 feet in height by 3 to 4 feet in width, which is about what it is here in our landscape after 2 seasons. Also has this beautiful red stems on it that really show off the foliage during the winter. This is truly a 12-month shrub. It's got, again, beautiful foliage in the winter. We're a couple weeks away. We're filming this in February. We're a couple weeks away from these clusters of white or kind of pale pink flowers opening on this. Really very, very showy here in the very late winter, very early spring. If you have both male and female plants, you'll get almost a metallic blue berry on them. We have one here in the landscape, so it's unlikely we're going to have very many berries, but having multiple plants will help with that. These are hardy in zone 7 to 9, and again, I'm here in zone 7B. It stays fairly thick during the winter time, but it does lose a few leaves. Definitely more evergreen toward the southern edges of its hardiness zones. You're going to see David viburnum listed for sun or part shade. I think it's tolerant of sun until later in the day, and so these big, beautiful, deeply veined leaves can definitely burn in the full afternoon sun in the summertime, especially here in the southeast. And so I would put it in a place where you can get lots of morning light on it, maybe through about midday, and then sometime late in the day, which is about where this one is. It's getting good sunlight on it for some portion of the middle of the day, and then there's a big oak back here that's putting it in the shade late in the day, and it's keeping any scorching from happening on these big, beautiful leaves. These are great foundation plants. If you have some place, like I said, that's sunny in the morning up through about midday, and then has some late day shade on it, they're great for just little low hedges. Just a perfect little specimen plant. The foliage contrasts so great with other smaller foliage material. Definitely any kind of gold foliage next to it. We have it it's the perfect little evergreen plant to stay in this space that we're not going to have to think about pruning a whole lot because it's not in a hurry. It's not a fast grower. So just a great little evergreen low hedge with very little maintenance. Planting is the most important thing with Viburnum Davidii. We have a clay-based soil here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have done a couple of these having them in spaces where they overwatered, ended up overwatered. So this is a plant that I want to definitely leave up high and dry when I plant it. So leave about 2 or 3 inches of the root ball up above the grade and then pull soil up to that, if that makes sense. Just keep it from being too deep in the soil. Otherwise, water can be its enemy. So moist, well-drained soil is ideal for it. Again, with late day shade on it here in the south is very, very important. Moderately drought tolerant. Once they're established, this is not a plant we've actually thought about watering because the area up here near the foundation stays moist without staying wet. And I do have it mounded up so it's not staying overly wet. So but if it's in, there's definitely going to be, there probably is a space in the garden where this thing would need to be watered. It's a great plant for letting you know. Some plants are not very good at letting you know. So this one will wilt when it's dry, and you can drag a water hose over to it. When you water it thoroughly, and then let it dry out over some period of time before you water it again. Don't put it on a schedule. Water it when it needs water only. Maintenance-wise, very little. Again, this is a slow-growing evergreen shrub that doesn't really need hardly anything at all. If you get a crazy limb on it, you can cut it off anytime you want to. I always get that kind of question about, if you have something that needs to come off or will eventually come off, just take it off whenever. There's no great time to prune these plants that we rely on for berries, and so that includes hollies and anything that flowers in the spring and then doesn't set berries until the fall. There's really not a great time to prune them because the flower buds are already on here through the winter. for this season. So we're not relying on it for berries. I doubt I'll have any berries, and so I'll just prune this thing as I need to after it's flowering. So anytime between March and midsummer. But again, I'm eliminating any chance of having any berries on it if I'm doing any general pruning on it. I'm not going to need to do any general pruning on it. It's just such a slow growing, easy plant. If there's a limb here or there that sticks up taller than the rest, I'll just cut it way down into the plant so it keeps that kind of natural form to it. That's it. We've got it in a space that's mulched. We actually let some leaves blow in here for the winter time so that the roots are warm on it, because up here in zone 7, we're on the northern edge of its hardiness, and so that those leaves are probably helping it through the winter months. Leaves are kind of bent down on it a little more than they are the rest of the year. It's still February, so it's got that winter, it's got kind of a winter look to it as we're filming it. We'll fertilize it here in February with a organic fertilizer. We keep the weeds away from it, keep it mulched, and that's it. This is a really easy landscape plant as long as it's in well-drained soil conditions. That seems to be, to me, to be the biggest killer of this plant in all the years that I've grown it in a nursery, planted it in people's landscapes and my own landscape over the years, is high and dry and water it only when it needs watering. This is David Viburnum, just a great, really great evergreen, very, very showy ornamental plant. Thanks for watching.